my friends out there in YouTube land? Yours truly, Rockin' Dave, the real deal. No Fort Myers, Southwest Florida. Sorry for the zooming up close um, shot right there, but I've got my phone not too far away. But if I take it where its normal setting is, you might not see what's going on here on the Mel9. So I want to address something here with this pedal, and it's a great pedal. I really, really dig it because of the strings and orchestrated stuff. You have these four knobs, and this one in particular over here called your sustain. When you're doing like strings or anything like that, you see it fades out. It doesn't just cut right off. Now, if I do the strings on the SY1 synth pedal, it stops right there. Now, you'd have to run the synth pedal, the SY1, into maybe a reverb or delay or something like that. But with the Mel9, you don't have to, which is really cool. The four knobs on top, you got your sustain, you got your attack that controls that. You have the effect volume, and you have the drive volume. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. And this white knob here, it calls for the different sounds. In this particular situation, I'm running what's called the Orchestra Sound. And what the Mel9 pedal really is, it's Electro Harmonix' version of the Mellotron keyboard that came out in the mid-60s. And it was used on countless albums back then, because it was cutting technology. It was new technology. You'll hear it on, I think, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club band on the Beatles album. You definitely hear it with like bands like King Crimson and any of the prog rock and music that was coming out of that era. And what the Mel9 was is tape recorded recordings of orchestra instruments, like on a tape machine, and they ran it into, built it into like a keyboard. So it would have like certain triggers like what we have now, but it was that technology back then. A real interesting fact. Great sounds for that. So I'm using my the Ibanez RGA Super Strat guitar with the with the Floyd Rose system. So it will react with whammy bar effects and things of that nature. Each instrument within the pedal has its own thing, so you got to keep that in mind. It does seem to track pretty cool. I want to really just concentrate on the Mel9, because how I have this set up is the guitar is going into the Mel9, and you have two outputs. It's not really stereo output. What it does is it splits the signal from dry and then wet, effect and then dry. Okay, so how I have this set, this would be my guitar output going into the ME80. The dry, I have it set going to one of the other channels in the Roland KC110 keyboard / PA speaker. Now, what you want to do, okay, here, let me see if I could just show you this real quick. I think I could zoom back out. Okay, sorry guys. Okay, so what is happening here is, if I could zoom out even more, this technology is something else, man. Okay, anyways, so basically what's going on here is the guitar is going into the Mel9, and then the dry output is going into the input of the SY1, and then the output is going into one of the channels of the PA speaker. And how this is set up, the ME80 is actually going into the effects loop on the Boss SY1 synthesizer pedal. So what's cool with that, and there's a reason why I do that, what's cool with that, let's say I don't want to, let's say I want, let me turn this off. And this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky here. Okay, so I'll have to well, I'll leave that off. Okay, so here is the synth pedal. Now I'm going to fade in the ME80. Now, so if I bring out just the my guitar effects, I'll have just synth. Now here, I got to show you this. So I got both synths going on, right? Bring out the guitar. So you got synthesizer. Okay. Oh, sorry. So you'll have this the straight synth effect. Now, here is what you got to keep in mind with these pedals. When you turn off the Mel9, and I have my volume, my drive volume is all the way off, and my volume on my guitar is up. See, there's, now back up, should be absolutely no guitar sound. This is what you got to keep in mind. Whether you run it through here or not, this is what you're going to get. Here, let me turn off the synth SY1 pedal. So now I should absolutely, theoretically, have no signal. Okay, but that's not how this works. You're getting guitar signal. The reason being is, even though I have this off, you're still getting a, when you turn this pedal off, it defaults into you know, a dry signal, just regular guitar. Now, I have this off, right? Let's get back into this. So obviously when I turn this on, now I got effect. Okay, cool. Now, turn that back off. Now, if I think about this, my volume is off on the dry effect. Now, how this works, this will work when you're just coming out of the effect. When you're not coming out of dry, it just this will react. So you could blend more of the your guitar sound with the synth sound. That's how this is set up. I'm almost positive. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm experiencing with this pedal. Obviously, I'm getting guitar sound, but it's because I got the pedal off. Here. Okay. So what you want to keep in mind is when you turn that pedal off, you're still going to get your bypassing. You're bypassing the effect. You're still getting a guitar signal because it's coming through your effect signal as well. That's why you're getting that. So my suggestion is, if you're not doing the things that I'm doing, but yeah, you still want to run it in, you know, use it with, let's say, your effect processor, but you do not want to send the synth sounds into your effect processor. You want to send it to a separate amp. So you have output, which would be your effect output here. You want to run that into a volume pedal so that at least you could pull that out. So let's say you turn your effect off, like I just did here, you won't get this. Because watch this. When I fade in a little bit of the effect and the distortion from the ME80, you see what I mean? You can still hear clean sound. Hear that? So that's what you want to keep in mind. That you'll experience that. You will get that. Now, when I normally at my shows, how I have this run, I don't have that running directly into the PA or one of the channels on the mixer. This effect output goes into the input of the Digitech RP360 XP. That has a volume pedal, built-in volume expression pedal. So I leave that off, leave the pedal up, so that when I have this off, the Mel9 is off, you don't get this. Which is a good thing. I also have it set for certain effects with the Digitech RP, where the volume, the whammy effect. So if I want to take my strings or chorus effect and just like drop it, I could do that. And I'll demo that on another video. Another thing I was experiencing with is that. Now when I turn off my overdrive, you don't really get it. And okay, I bet you if I turn up the gain on the preamp that's on the ME80, yep, see what I mean? So it's like, okay, you hear that? So there could be a little bit of issue there with this patch cord, maybe. Okay, and if that's the case, how we're going to determine that? We're going to take that cord out and we're going to see. Is it the patch cord or is it the skinny little adapter wire that comes with the Electro-Harmonix Mel9? Or is it just that it's an inexpensive pedal? And it could be. So, but before I do that, I do want to explain something, what I've noticed. These pedals are great. Now, I don't know about I guess the Boss came out with the new Synth Pedal SY200. And then, and also, a few years back, they came out with the SY300, I think it was. Where you don't need that hex pickup, the synthesizer pickup. Okay. I don't know about those two pedals, especially like the SY300. Whether it has a built-in preamp or not. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. And likewise with the new SY200 that just came out a few months ago. If it has a preamp or not, I don't know. But I do know our Roland GR55 guitar synth has like a preamp section in there. And that's even also, and I'm taking an educated guess here, even for the synth effects. And the reason why I say that is for these things to work the way I want them, the effect volume on both of these I have maxed out, cranked up. Where my dry signal or my guitar signal, I have those volumes down very low and it's just still kind of loud. Watch. So for instance, let's with the Mel pedal, right? I gotta break out the guitar. At some point, it seems that these effect pedal, their volumes max out, and no matter how loud you got them cranked up, it's like your guitar signal or whatever you're running your guitar in, that's got to be lowered, and that's something you got to keep in mind. So that for me, it's a little bit different because when I run it into this, I'm still going into one of the channels in our mixer, so I could bring that channel up and that. But what I have to keep in mind, so I don't experience weird volume differentials between the volumes of these two pedals and this, it's like what is considered your direct or dry signal, which would be just your guitar, that's got to be lowered. I think on the SY1, it's pretty low. In this case, it's about 1 o'clock. And the effect, the synth, is cranked up all the way. On here, I just happen to have this all the way off, but which would be my drive signal, but my effect signal is cranked up all the way, and it's maxed out. Now, the solution there for the Mel9 because how I'm running that is when I run it into the Digitech or any other effect, have that volume up. So that when I bring everything up, it's going to be almost like, 50-50. It's going to be very even, you know? But you'll notice it. It's like this. If you were to take, since we're talking about the Mel9, if you take the Mel9 and you run it like this, one out here and one out there, you run this into, let's say, like how I've got this, one of the channels into a mixer. That channel, which would be your guitar sound, your dry, would have to be lower than the effect. When you run the effect, it's going to have to be a little bit higher, because I don't think there's much of a preamp in any of these. So you have to really, take that in consideration and bring those volumes up. So they do take a little while getting used to when you get these, and have the time to just experiment and mess around with them, just to keep that in mind. Now, I'm going to try something before I switch out the chord here. I'm going to see my volume up. Yeah. Okay. No noise because we're not using the overdrive. Look at that. I switched to manual with my overdrive on, and I turn the overdrive off. Now, if I turn this down a little bit, the overdrive. And it's even when I turn the effect off. So it's going through here where I'm getting at. Something to consider. But I did say I'm going to try another chord, so we're going to go ahead and try another chord, right? So here we go. We're going to unplug this. And because I know it's not that little 3-foot chord, and it's not my other chords, what we will do is grab my chord that I normally use for the guitar, from the guitar into the effect pedals. So now we're going to take this, and we're going to disconnect this. We're going to disconnect that, and we're going to go into here. Okay. And if it still does it, then it could be because of that adapter. Or it's just that, or it's just simply a noisy pedal. And again, the effect itself is not going through the distortion. So theoretically, technically, it should be bypassed. But we'll find out. It's just something for you guys and gals out there to keep in mind. And the reason why I'm saying that, I haven't seen any other videos about this. Okay? Now it's not doing it, but I don't have my, excuse me, I do not have my overdrive set. Now I'm going to go to manual mode. Yep. Okay. It's still a little bit, so it could have been part of that, but it's still there. See? Now, you might ask yourself, okay, well, if you're running the Mel9 through a volume pedal, just for the sake of keeping things simple, and you take the volume pedal where it's all the way off, will you still get that humming sound? Yeah, because that's what we were experiencing on our gig Saturday. As soon as I did that, hit my overdrive, there it is. And I have the drive low, about 10 o'clock in this case, the gain on the preamp section at about 11. And when I took it out, I get this really nice singing sound, singing tone that I really like. When I bypass that, I still get it when not, but again, it will not do it with you using a clean sound. And it won't really do it if you are like a Marshall type sound, set to a crunch, with a little bit of a compressor. But you will get that. So it's just something to keep in mind. Since if I want to go through, I'm gonna go through the sounds that's in it now, but I'm not gonna set my knobs up here. I'm just gonna go through this because this will be your selector, and let's see if we have volume differentials from each instrument. One way to test this is with just hitting an open E, because the reason why I say that, you don't realize it until you start playing with synthesizers. Your thickness of strings will definitely matter, because the more mass a string has, the more sound vibration there's going to be. And with synthesizers, they seem to be a little bit more sensitive with that. Definitely with the Roland and the GK the GK pickups that come with the Rolands, or that you have to buy, with the 13-pin chords, because they're also like a pickup, and what they do is they transfer the sound that they're hearing and they run it into that processor. So at some point, the sound that's in these synthesizers have to detect what's coming in so they could give the signal going out. Okay? So that is orchestra. Now we'll go to the next one, which is cello. Okay? It seems to be even though you might sound like you're not hearing the whole orchestra sound, but you're still getting a signal coming through. In this case, it's just one instrument when it's set to cello. Okay. Now the next one is strings. You get 9 effects. That's why I believe we call it 9 effects. Okay. Number 1 is orchestra. Number 2 is cello. Number 3 is strings. Almost sounds like orchestra. So here's how you can tell the two apart. We're going to go back to number 1, which is orchestra. You can hear a little bit of horn section in there. That's what you're hearing. With strings, you're just hearing strings. Okay. And the next one is supposed to be flute. We'll get still with just a low E. Okay. Still seems to be even with the volume. Okay. And the next one is, I can't see that. They write everything so tiny. Oh, it's clarinet. Okay. Again, just a low E. Okay, it seems a little bit of a drop in volume, but maybe it's because of the way that effect is. And these are the things you gotta keep in mind. It's not too much of a drop in volume. Let's go back to the previous one. Flute, okay. Clarinet. And the reason why I say that, either you have this set differently, but you can't program it. That's the thing. Or you adjust your picking attack. Okay, so that was what, the clarinet. And now was this the oboe? I guess. Okay, the volume got a little bit higher. Okay. You know what? Here, this is so tiny, guys. This type is so small. It's unreal. I have a little bit of a magnifying glass I'm going to grab because I'm going to give you the accurate what each instrument actually is. Okay. You got a lot of stuff. There. Okay, so you got a lot of problems. A lot of stuff brings you a lot of problems. Just keep that in mind. Okay. So the one was, maybe this was, that was definitely, that was clarinet. Okay. Here we have saxophone. That's what this is. You can almost hear now. Here is where you can hear the sax sound. Okay. So now the next one. This is going to be brass. Now again, you have to adjust the sustain knob and the attack knob and all this and that and the other. So this is what I mean. These are not programmable, but I got it for a very specific thing, so I'm not complaining about that. Okay, let's go on to the next one. And what is that? Okay. The next one is low choir. Okay, that's what low choir is going to sound. Okay, and the last one is high choir. You hear the high in the cymbal. If I go low choir, play those same high notes. Yeah. This sounds cool when you run it through, let's say, a whammy pedal, and you hit the chord. Let's say if it's this. You get that effect with the whammy pedal. A little bit more of an even, because it's taking that signal and running through another preamp signal and just dropping it. So that's what I mean. There's certain things in here you have to keep in mind because these things don't have preamps. And I think that is why we hear this when we get these things out of the box. You know, there's nothing wrong with some of the commercials, or I mean the videos, the demo videos I've seen. I get a good idea, but for the most part, when I see demo videos, I know that that's not how it sounds exactly 100%, unless they're doing it like how I'm doing this, where there's absolutely no post-production or editing or anything like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you know, you want to do a polished video, that's totally different. 100% different. Okay? But I really think that when people do demos, and they're going to do them like that, they need to be as transparent as possible for anyone that wants to buy this stuff. They're not going to be shocked. You know, you say, oh my God, it didn't sound nothing like on the demo video. So this is what it really sounds like. So now what else do I need, you know, to get this thing to go, to get as close to what I heard on the you know, the YouTube video. See, that's why it could be very misleading when you're doing stuff like that. Now, I do know there's a guy out there, I've seen him do these videos with these, and he does give a description while he's running it through. That's great. So, you know, you will see those descriptions, and I think that's great. But I really think that, and maybe it's just because of the sake of time, and you could do a long video, the editing, I get it. I totally 100% get it. But if you're going to do a demo video for the sake of saying, okay, this is what it's going to sound like, guys. This is what to expect. This is what I got, what I'm using. And keep these things in mind before you buy this. This is what it's really going to sound like. Because, you see, that's going to help you as the buyer as much as possible, so you don't feel like you're being misled or you don't get disappointed. You know what I mean? So when you buy these pedals, now see, Electro Harmonics has a whole series of these. We have the Mel9, which that's this. You have the K9, which is a keyboard. I think the Synth 9. The K9, well, I just said that before, that's a keyboard. You got the B9. You have the C9. Those are both organs. You have another one called, you have a B9 for the organ, but you do have another B9, or maybe it's called the bass pedal. It's something like the bass. But any of these pedals that have this dual output, they're not stereo. There's one that's going to be dry. And to solve this problem right here, I think what would have to happen, no, maybe not. Hold on. Because it's turning it off. So that's a good thing there. Maybe it's this, yeah. Is that you really got to understand that you got these volume differentials going on here. Oh, that's what's going on here. I got that. When you have this split, and you have the effect on, and all of a sudden you don't want synth effects. In the background, you're gonna hear clean guitar. So this output has to go into a volume pedal to bring that out, so you don't get this weird. See what I mean? So you don't get that. That's solution right there. But it does seem to be like a little bit on the noisy side. And the only thing I could think of is maybe, I could be wrong, maybe it has something to do with this very thin wire you get with the adapter. This will not run on batteries either, so you got to keep that in mind. So it's just something that you guys got to keep in mind. And also, if you do grab one of these, at least this pedal, the SY1, you have to crank the synth volume up all the way, or if not, could do it all the way, you know, close to it. You do have to bring that volume up, and your guitar volume has to be down, because you get these very, very uneven volumes. Your guitar will be so loud above the synth sound, it's going to be very, very disappointing. Again, it's almost as if these pedals have no preamp to boost up the internal volume of them, whereas a regular Roland guitar synth or something like that, you're going to have something where you have like a preamp. The effect itself is going to have a strong volume. And, it should, because the GR55 was over $800. You could buy it as a package where you get to pick up to mount on your guitar as well. You get a pickup, you get a cable, 13-pin cable, and you get the synthesizer as as a package deal. But if you buy just a synthesizer, I think it's like in the $600 or $700 range. So the reason that is it's expensive, that it's got a lot more processing power, more like a preamp. It's you know so the only thing is you gotta have that pickup. That's the only thing that you gotta keep in mind. So, but with these, keep in mind, yeah, you could use just a 1/4 inch cable. You know, you don't need a special cord. 1/4 inch cable with the Roland pickup. You gotta get one of these. It's a 13-pin cable, and this is a 15-foot. We just got a couple of weeks ago, or maybe last week, or something like that. Anyways, the 30-foot cord ran about $70 a few years ago, and the 15-foot cord was about 30 or 32 just a few years ago. Now that same 15-foot cord is like $86. So, and you got to be very careful because it could be pretty sensitive. So there's all kinds of trade-offs with all this gear that you got to keep in mind. And again, when we watch these video demos, we get a good idea what they sound like, and I think that's great. And you get that, man, really clean, crisp sound, stereo sound, and post-production sound. That's great. But we need to see more of the videos of how they actually sound out of the box, because that's what they're going to really sound like. And a lot of people, maybe that's why they don't do that, because they'll think, oh, how am I going to sell this product when this is what it really is going to sound like, and this is what you need to do. Whereas let's get the product sold, so let's produce, the best quality video and audio. I totally get that. I agree with that. So you do get a chance to see and hear what you could do with these pedals. Absolutely. But there should be disclaimers in there that you will need to do these other things to get them to sound like that. It's not going to do it like right out of the box. Yeah, you'll get your synth sounds, but you could get volume differentials. And I think that is what a lot of people, and people out there who have used these pedals, you know what I'm talking about, because that's the first thing you're going to notice. Like, wow, man, I got just all these volumes. What's going on? I got it cranked up, and it still sounds very low. So you got the synth pedal. This is what we experienced with this. The synthesizer effect is cranked up. The direct sound is turned down, and then we run it through the PA. That's got to be cranked up to get the combination of these two at a nice, decent volume. But then if I go grab the acoustic guitar, let's say I had an AB box, I do, but let's say I'm using my AB box and I'm on the acoustic and I got the volume on the acoustic real low, boom, it's like a huge volume jump. That's because on that channel I had to boost the volume up all the way to get these two. You see what I mean? There's little things you got to be careful. You just got to be aware of. They sound great, don't get me wrong. They're great pedals. I love what I could do with them, but you get these volume differentials. Once you get used to getting that together, then now here's the other issue with the noise when I turn on the overdrive, and it doesn't do that with just this, with just the Boss and that. It doesn't do it because I'm using the Boss pedal, the power cords that come with the Boss pedal board. Now, I have not tried the Mel9 with the one spot. That'd be interesting to do when I get a chance. But if I'm going to do that, and I said this before, that will be the only pedal that's on that adapter. Because I do know I mean, I could be wrong, but I do know, I thought I heard a video that said, I know with the Photon OCD pedal, the overdrive pedal, will run 18 volts or 9 volts, and you got to be careful. If you're gonna have all kind of plugs plugged into it, so you got to watch your amps, your amp draws, because then you get like a voltage drop, and then you could start to burn out the pedal if you maxed out your amp ratings. So in other words, if this pedal, I'm going to use the analogy of a skill circular saw, because this actually happened on a job site. So the skill, I think it was like 15 amps. And then if you have a 100-foot extension cord, and that 100-foot extension cord has 15 amps, and what you'll notice when you run that saw, it'll get hot real quick, because you're getting a voltage drop, because you're running it through a 100-foot cord. No matter if you're 100 feet away or not, that power still has to make its way through that cord. So when they're at the same and you're using it for a while, you get the voltage drops, and sometimes you burn out the motor bearings. The bearings in the motor, they get burnt out. So, and especially if you have an extension cord that says it is 12 amps and you're running a 15 amp through it, you're going to burn it out, you know. So when they say about matching adapters, you know, that's not so far-fetched, because there is a set rule that they all have to follow for safety reasons. However, if there's a little bit of 5% plus or minus 5% that they're allowed to play with within that range, okay, then that's fine, because it's safety. But it's still safe to sell and this, that, and the other. Excuse me. But if this pedal specifically says, let's say 9.32 amps, and there's no plus or minus, and I'm running a cord that's less than that for a certain duration of time that's plugged in, whether I have it on or off, especially if I have it on, how do I know I'm not burning something out there? Because I'm kind of maxed it out. I know it sounds kind of far-fetched for some, but if you've ever experienced smelling wires burning, you know, again, I go back to the analogy of the skill saw ran into a 100-foot cable, and the amps are the same, and you're trying to get a full day's work out of this thing, and it gets real hot, and it starts smelling, it starts smoking. You're burning it out. It's the exact same. It's electricity. It's the exact same concept with these pedals. So with the noise factor, it could be this thin little cord, but I got to be careful what adapter I use with these. So just keep that in mind, okay? And if I'm proven wrong with this theory, hey, that's great. That's 100. I got no problems with that, because then it may be something with my cables and then not everybody's going to experience this. But I wonder how many people out there that are using this had noticed it, you know? And again, you when you kick on the overdrive, it just seems that, man, what's going on with this? You know? So, and again, I could take my AAB pedal and just separate the two, which is perfectly fine. But I would still have to run this into some sort of a volume pedal, because when you turn the effect off, you will still get dry guitar sound. So, anyways, my friends, I hope this is a little bit helpful and insightful. And again, this is not knocking these pedals. No. They do sound great. Just keep these things in mind. And hopefully this video can inspire other people that have been using these to put their videos up and say, yeah, what you said is right. However, this is how I combated and took care of that situation. So this is what I'm using, and this has worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you, you know. So anyways, but again, I mean, the pedal's like $250. So it's not a bad price to get when you want those certain sounds. It is definitely unique. Definitely unique. I just kind of wish I would have known about that noise and that the volume. Well, I had an idea with the volume differentials because of that pedal, but there's certain things with this. Um, that's really all I would say about its cons. Yeah, but other than that, it is a great pedal. I do like it. So keep that in mind, my friends. And when you go check out gear, my best advice: there's a lot of great video demos on YouTube and other, I guess, social media platforms. I'm not knocking that, okay? But nothing will beat you going to the store, you plugging in, and once you figure out how the thing works, start adjusting things according to your likingness, to what you're going to use it for. Because you see, ultimately, that's what it's going to come down to. And then that's when you start noticing certain things, and hopefully that doesn't deter it, disappoint you so much that you don't buy the unit if you really have your heart set on buying it. You know what I mean? But it really is the best, it's the best way to check gear out. YouTube is a great, way to see how it would sound, you know, but nothing's going to beat you actually playing it because, again, you're going to use it the way you're going to use it. So, anyways, my friends, I hope this video has been helpful. We do have a gig tomorrow night. We're playing, 6 to 9? Yeah. So we'll probably stream that live. We'll see if we get this thing up and going with that. If the noise is too much, maybe we won't. But we'll see what we could do. And we'll just see what happens. Anyways, I hope this helps, guys. Until tomorrow or next time you can tune in. Stay strong, safe, and true. Thank you so much for watching. Rock on, and God bless you, my friends. Have a good evening.